Based on the kernel design, the kernels are classified into either monolithic kernel or microkernel. As the name itself indicates, monolithic kernel means only one space is used. We already know that there are two types of space that are available to execute or to run the applications of the kernel. What are they? User space and kernel space. What do you mean by user space? User space is the memory space where the user applications are executed. To execute the kernel applications, we use some memory space that is called as kernel space, right? So to execute the entire, to run or to execute the entire applications, if the kernel is using only the kernel space, if the operating system is using only the kernel space to execute the entire applications of the operating system, that type of kernel is called as monolithic kernel. You can see here. In the monolithic kernel architecture, only all the kernel applications, all the kernel services will execute in the kernel space. Okay. So here all the modules run within the same memory space under a single kernel. Under a single kernel. The major drawback of this monolithic kernel, what is the drawback of this? So since all the kernel modules are executing under a single thread, if there is any error occurred or any unexpected failures occur in any one of the kernel thread, that causes that crash the entire kernel application, right? So the major drawback of this monolithic kernel is that any error or any failure in any one of the kernel modules leads to the crashing of the entire kernel application. What are the examples we can say? Linux, Solaris, MS-DOS, these are all the examples of the monolithic kernel. Here you can see entire applications of the operating system, all the kernel applications are executed in the kernel space. In monolithic kernel, with all the operating system services running in a kernel space. So second type of kernel is the microkernel. Okay, in the microkernel design, the entire services which are executed or run by the kernel are divided into two categories. So first one is the essential kernel applications or non-essential kernel applications. To execute the essential kernel modules or to execute the services, essential services, it uses the kernel space. To execute the non-essential services, it will use the user space. Here, microkernel utilizes both the user space and kernel space. The microkernel design incorporates only the essential set of the operating system services into the kernel. The rest of the operating system services are implemented in programs known as servers, which runs the user space. Okay? Memory management, process management, timer systems, and interrupt handlers are all the essential services, which forms a part of the microkernel. Here you can observe all the applications here, they are utilizing both the kernel space here and user space, right? So kernel services running in the user space. Some of the kernel services which are not essential will execute in the user space, and some of the kernel services which are essential, which are treated as essential services will execute in the kernel space. So which services are considered as essential services? Memory management, process management, timer management. Okay, these are timer system management, IO devices system management. So these are all considered essential services, and those services will be executed in the kernel space. So there are two types of operating systems that are available. What are the two types of operating systems? Tell me, students. General purpose operating system and real-time operating system. While we are discussing about the difference between general purpose operating system and embedded system, we discussed that in the case of general purpose computing system, we use the general purpose operating system as the OS. Whereas in the case of the embedded system, we use the real-time operating system as the OS. Right? We prefer the real-time operating system as the operating system. Why? Because general purpose operating system is not only for a specific domain, specific application or a specific domain that can be used for general applications. That can be used for generic. Here you can see the operating system which are deployed in general computing system are referred as general purpose operating system, and the kernel of such operating system is more generalized when compared to the real-time operating system, and it contains all kinds of services which are need to execute or run the general applications. not only for the specific application or a specific domain design. It can be used for generic application. What is the main example we can say is the general purpose computing system, which we can say personal computer. We can say personal computer is the best example for the general purpose computing system, right? So in the case of general purpose computing system like personal computers, we use the general purpose operating systems like Windows XP, right? So the general purpose operating system is often quite non-deterministic in nature. Because non-deterministic means the response may not be in time, right? So if there is any delays in the response, that may be accepted. That may be accepted. Whereas in the case of real-time operating system, the response should be in time. Response time is very critical factor to consider when you are considering the real-time operating system or the embedded system. These services can inject random delays into the application software and may cause slow responsiveness of the application at unexpected times. Okay, but it is not accepted in the case of real-time operating system. Personal computers, desktop computers is the typical examples of the general purpose computing system where general purpose operating system is deployed. So what are the examples of the general purpose operating system? Windows XP, MS-DOS, these are all can be considered as the examples of the general purpose operating system. Real-time operating system. This real-time operating system implies deterministic timing behavior. It means response time is very critical factor in the case of real-time operating system. And this real-time operating system is preferred in the systems which are used for a specific operations or a specific task. Deterministic timing behavior in real-time operating system context means that the operating system services consumes only known and expected amount of time. And the response time is predefined and it is predicted and should be that response should be in that time only. Okay. The real-time operating system decides which application should run in which order and how much time need to be allocated for each application. Everything is predefined. So predictable performance is one of the hallmarks of the well-designed real-time operating systems. What are the examples of the real-time operating systems? Windows CE, QNX, Xbox, Micro, C operating system 2, etc. We can say as the examples of the real-time operating system. And how many types of kernels are used in the real-time operating system? Means a real-time kernel is used, and this real-time kernel is of two types: hard real-time and soft real-time. What is the difference between these two? Small delays are very tiny delays are accepted in the case of soft real-time, but those delays are not at all acceptable, and response should be in time in case of hard real-time. It is a hard real-time means the output should be in time. Delays are not at all accepted. And some of the responsibilities of the kernel when you are considering the real-time. In the previous classes, we discussed the services handled by the kernel in the case of general purpose operating system. Okay, but all the services handled by the kernel of the general purpose operating system we are going to discuss. Today we are going to discuss about the services and the responsibilities of the real-time operating system kernel of the real-time operating system we are going to discuss today. The kernel of the real-time operating system is referred as real-time kernel, and it is highly specialized and it contains only the minimal set of services required for running the user applications and tasks. And the basic functions of the real-time kernels are task management or process management, task scheduling or process scheduling, task synchronization and process synchronization, error handling or exception handling, memory management, interrupt handling, time management. These are all some of the responsibilities of the real-time kernel. So here, this task management deals with the setting of the memory space for the task, loading the task code into the memory space, allocating the system resources, and setting up the task control block for the task at the process termination and detection of the task, detection of the process, and termination of the task, and deletion or termination of the task. Okay, so here, whenever what is in a task, an application is frankly speaking, it is a set of instructions, right? So that one application is divided into different tasks, and the single task is divided into multiple processes, and process is again divided into threads, right? Yeah. So whenever you want to execute the task, whenever you want to perform that or run the task or the instructions which are present in the task to execute that, it requires some, first of all, to store the task, it requires some memory space, right? So after storing that, a task is nothing but a set of instructions, it is nothing but a program or a code. So where the program should be, in the case of embedded system, program should be placed in the program memory of the embedded system. What memory is called as a program memory? Flash memory of the embedded system is called as a program memory, right? So here, here task control block is a block which contains entire information regarding the task. So how much resources you are allocating or memory space you are allocating for the task. Okay, a task control block is used for holding the information corresponding to a task. So now we are going to discuss about what are all the contents of the task control block. So it is very important topic. So TCB means task control block. Each task is having its own task control block, which maintains the entire information regarding that task. So this task control block usually contains a following set of information. So what are the information it is having? Task ID, task state, task type. What is the type of the task, and what are the priorities among this task, and what is the content pointer of the task? Task context pointer. I mean, context pointer means it shows the it points the current executing instruction. And if you want to switch that context from one part of the program to another part, this pointer will usually points that. Okay, so what do you mean by task ID? Every task or every process is having its own ID, which is unique one. Okay, so with the help of that ID, the task can be identified. Okay, task identify number that is maintained by the task control block. And what is the state of the task? Task in the waiting state, it is the running state, the executing state, or in the exit state or termination state. What is the current state of the task? Is indicated by this task state. And what is the type of this task? Okay, so it indicates the type of the task. That may be can be a hard real time or soft real time or background task. So what type of task it is, and what is the priority? I mean, whether the priority is 1 or 0. Okay, so if it is having the highest priority, it is indicated by 1. Otherwise, it is indicated by 0. Okay, so what is the priority of the task? What is the type of the task? What is the current state of the task? What is the identified type of the task? Identified number, which is allocated, which is the unique one, no? Of the task is maintained by this task control block. Along with that, it also maintains the context pointer, always pointing to the pointer of the context set. Now tell me, students, what are all the contents of the task control block? What are all the contents of the task control block?
Task ID, task state, task type, task priority, and task context pointer.
Yes. So what do you mean by task ID?
Which is used to identify the number. Task identify number.
Yes, it is a task identifier number which is given for each task, and it is a unique for each task. It is one of the responsibility of the kernel of the real-time operating system. Next one. So it may also contain a task memory pointer, task system resources pointer, which always points to the system resources, semaphores, meters, all the resources allocated to execute and to run the task, right? And task memory pointer always points to the code of the task and instructions of the task. I mean, whether the task or the set of the instructions are stored in the program memory or data memory, or what is the state of the stack memory. It always point to the stack memory, or always point to the code memory and program memory or code memory. And task pointer always points to the other PCBs. After the execution and the termination of this task, next PCB has to be taken into consideration, right? It always points to the next PCB. And what are the responsibilities of the services? Utilizes the task control block of the each task is the means. First, it will create the task control block. What are the services provided by the task management? What task management of the kernel will do? Okay, first it creates a task control block for each task, creating the TCP. Okay, creating the task control block for each task. Why? Because the idea of the each task is different, and the state of the each task may not be same, right? So each task should have its own task control block, and each task control block maintain the several information regarding the task, and deleting, removing the task control block of the task when the task is terminated or deleted after the execution of the task is completed, and reads the task control block to get the state of the task, and update the task control block with updated parameters on the need basis, and modify the task control block to change the priorities of the task, and dynamically it will modify, and dynamically modify. Okay, so it modifies the task control block to change the priorities dynamically. Okay, so these are all the services provided by the task management: creating the task control block for a task, creating the TCP, and deleting, removing the TCP after that division is, execution is completed, and reach the TCP to get the state of the task, and update the TCP with the updated parameters on the need basis, and dynamically modifies the contents of the TCP at the state in the TCP. Why? Because sometimes the TCP is in the waiting state. After it gets chance, it will it will enter into the execution state, right? After the execution is completed, it will move to the exit state. So the state is not constant always. So dynamically, the state of the task need to be changed. So next type of the service which is handled by the kernel of the task is that it deals with sharing the CPU among the various tasks, sharing the resources regarding the process. The kernel application called scheduler handles the task scheduling. Scheduler is nothing but an algorithm implementation which performs the efficient and optimal scheduling of the task to provide a deterministic behavior. Okay, so scheduler is nothing but an algorithm which tells us at what time the execution of the first instruction of the task needs to be started, and at what time it has to be, everything is predefined, right? In real time, everything is predefined. And at what time the division of the TCP has to be occurred. Division when it will occur after the execution of the last instruction of the task need to be deleted, right? So everything is in the deterministic behavior. To reach that, to provide the deterministic behavior, task scheduler is required. And next services of the kernel related to the, recording the real-time operating system is task synchronization. What do you mean of task scheduling? Scheduling the execution of each instruction belonging to the task. And what do you mean of task synchronization? It deals with the synchronizing the concurrent access of the resources, which is shared among the multiple tasks and communicating between the various tasks. Right? So a single resource may be required by the multiple tasks at the same time. Okay, so to maintain the same, to utilize to share the same resources among the multiple tasks, task synchronization is compulsory, right? So what is the use of the task synchronization? What is the use of the task synchronization? When multiple tasks require the same resources, so to share the same resources among the multiple tasks, task synchronization is required. So this task synchronization deals with the synchronizing the concurrent access of the resources. Concurrent access of the resources means multiple tasks utilize the same resource. Concurrent access are parallelly same resources is accessed by the multiple tasks, which is shared across the multiple tasks and the communication between the various tasks. So to maintain the or to utilize the same resources among the multiple tasks, the communication should be established between the tasks, right? So to establish the communication, synchronization is compulsory. That is the use of this task synchronization. Next service of the kernel related to the real-time operating system is that exception handling or error handling. It deals with the registering and handling the errors occurred or exceptions arise during the execution of the task. While the execution of the task is executing and the multiple instructions are available in the task are executing, some exceptions are arise, right? So handling those exceptions are handling those errors which are arise while it is executing. No, that is nothing but exception handling or error handling. So when it will arise, when these exceptions may be arised, or when these errors may occur, when it will occur? No, when insufficient memory is one of the reason of rising these exceptions. Insufficient memory, due to insufficient memory or timeouts. Why? Because in the real-time operating system, in real-time systems, everything is predefined. Some microseconds are allotted. That particular task should be executed within that microsecond, that is within that predefined time. Yes or no? So timeouts, deadlocks, deadline missing, bus error, divide by zero. If you perform anything divided by zero, what will happen? Infinite time. That is not defined in the digital circuits. So at that time also exceptions will arise. So that exceptions need to be handled. And unknown instruction execution, etc. are some of the examples of the errors and exceptions which are arise during the execution of the task. Students, can you able to understand what is exception handling? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
So exception handling or error handling deals with the registering and handling the errors occurred or exceptions raised during the execution of the task. So when these errors are occurred or when these exceptions are raised means when due to the insufficient memory or due to the timeouts or due to the deadlocks or deadline missing. So why? Because everything is a real-time operations. When you are using the real-time operating system, you are using the real-time systems. Real-time systems are used for the real-time applications, right? So a divide by zero, unknown instruction execution, these are all the causes of the rising of exceptions are occurring of these errors. And remaining services of the kernel will be discussed in the next class.